Use code AFTV20 for 20% off your order with Fireway Pizza. Just click the link in the description below or go to fireway.co.uk now.
I'm here with my boy Frank, and Frank, 2-2, Desmond, as is commonly known. Your thoughts on the match?
Oh, it's a bit of a weird one. Obviously, I went into the game with a lot of confidence. I was one of those people that think, not that we'd completely wiped the floor with them. Obviously, I know they were going into the game in quite poor form, as by their standards, absolutely. But, you know, you look at it, we were going into the game in good form as well, and I thought we would get the result today. Wasn't the case, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't recognise the Arsenal team that I saw in the first half. Thankfully, we pulled it back when we needed to in the second half. Leandro Trossard coming in clutch with the goal to get the equaliser again. We've made it hard for ourselves, absolutely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility for sure in that second leg.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, you're right. In terms of the performance, especially defensively, we weren't quite at it today. Some of that can be attributed to Bayern.
Yep.
I mean, let's face it, Harry Kane, for me, I said it before the game and I'm saying it now, to me, he's the best number 9 in world football currently, and he had a great game today. I thought he could even have been man of the match. Sane looked particularly dangerous. In fact, I could not believe when Thomas Tuchel took him off. I don't think Leroy Sane could believe it either. But listen, I was like, oh, you want to take off one of your best players?
I'm
Fine.
not complaining, that's for sure.
So listen, it was, to me, this was always going to be a challenging game for us. I wasn't one of those that thought we were just going to blow them away. I predicted a 2-1 win. It was 2-2 obviously, but I don't think it's the end of the tie though. I think that there's still, there's everything to play for, but I think we can get a result there. What do you think?
No, absolutely. You know, it's like I said, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But what I need to see is I would actually go as far as to say that was probably one of our worst defensive displays all season. And, you know, we've been praised so much, and rightfully so, for our defensive play this season. When was the last time you saw Arsenal in the conversation for the least amount of goals conceded in a season? We're back in that conversation, and a big part of that is the big part of that is because of obviously some of the players that we've got. For me, today was probably William Saliba's worst game in an Arsenal shirt. I don't think there was at any point did I feel that comfortable, and it's really strange because I would put him in that world-class category, William Saliba, and he's made the most starts in Europe's top 5 leagues for a reason, because he's shown that level of ability over such a long period of time now, and he's got a right to be there. However, if this is how he's going to play in the big games, he's got another thing coming, because he needs to, obviously we're in a different scenario that he's probably never been in before. You know, a Champions League quarter-final, massive game against one of the biggest teams in the world in Bayern Munich. He's got to get that mindset, you know, he's got to get into a position where he understands, all right, this is the game where I really need to show my ability, and then we need to see a much better performance from him in the second leg. Not just him as well. I feel like, what can I say about that first goal? David Raya, you know this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because you being a goalkeeper, you played goalkeeper for a long time. Whenever we have these conversations, you're one of the people who I always look to talk to, because you know your thing when it comes to goalkeeping. Now, it's my assertion that first goal, I'm not saying it's completely his fault, because it was a bit of a comedy of errors, but the way he ran out there, I don't know what he was doing. Maybe you could tell us what he was doing.
No, of course. The answer to that is I don't know what on earth he was doing. But, you know, I don't think it's just him to blame for that first goal. I think, you know, there's 3 people to blame in this situation. David Raya does not help Gabriel at all in the situation. You know, he's facing the goalkeeper. The only option that he's really got is to give that ball back to David Raya, pass it back to David Raya. David Raya coming so close to him, you know, eliminates that option. So what does Gabriel have to do? Gabriel has to improvise. He actually does quite well with the improvisation, to be fair. But the pass to Kivior isn't up to where it needs to be, and especially on his strongest foot as well. I feel like he could be doing a lot more. And then Kivior for that goal, who I actually believe was the worst performing player on the pitch today. There was a reason he got dragged at half-time, and I'm glad that Arteta understood that change needed to be made when he made it as well. So I've got to give Mikel Arteta praise for that as well. You know, he's completely unmarked, no pressure on him initially, doesn't get to the ball. So I think it's just a comedy of errors leading to the first goal, and we just need to be a lot better than that going forward.
I think the second goal as well, I mean, I forget who had was it Sane again, had the run. He just seemed to ghost past about 4 or 5 players.
Absolutely. But the thing is with that, like, I understand why Kivior started. I said before the game, as long as it's not Zinchenko that's starting, because I feel like Leroy Sane would have had an absolute field day with Zinchenko. And
although when Zinchenko came on, he actually did quite well.
In hindsight, he did quite well. I think after the Trossard goal, he dropped off a little bit. But, the point was, Leroy Sané's pace, A fully fit Leroy Sané at the start of the game was always going to cause nightmares, and I think that's where Kiwior struggled today. And in an ideal world, we have Tomiyasu there, fit and available, but his minutes have been limited since he came back from the Asia Cup and came back from the injury. I feel like he should have been getting a lot more minutes leading up to the game, which would have had him in contention for this game. And to be fair, leading up to this game, Kiwior is probably there on merit. It's just unfortunate it just didn't work out for him, and we need to see better going forward.
Yep, I agree. It wasn't his best day. Right, 2 quick questions.
Yes.
I'm going to start with an incident right at the end of the game. One that's got everyone talking, from commentators to pundits to fans to people like us. Was it a penalty? Bukayo Saka threw on goal in the 95th minute, seemingly brought down by Manuel Neuer, who rushed out of his goal with a little bit of reckless abandon. But for me, I didn't think it was a penalty.
Yeah.
I thought Saka dangled his leg and was looking for it. But what do you think?
It's a bit of a weird one for me because I feel like, if it gets given initially by the referee, VAR don't overturn it because I don't think it's clear and obvious. Obviously, there's contact, but I understand that Bukayo Saka has looked for that contact. So it's very 50-50 for me. And at the same time, it wasn't given, and I completely understand why VAR haven't overturned that in the same place. Like I said, there's clear contact from Manuel Neuer. I understand the argument about Bukayo Saka running at full pace. There's not a lot of time to move his body out of the way, as per se. But it did look like he leaned in, and for that reason, I would say no penalty. But there's certainly contact, and there was an argument for it, but I just don't think it was the case.
Yeah, most people I've spoken to said it wasn't a penalty. Although some pundits, including Rio Ferdinand, said it was.
Absolutely. I'll be honest though, I'm a little bit disappointed in Bukayo Saka because I feel like he could have and should have just gone for goal because he done well to reclaim the ball. I feel like if you look at what we saw, I feel like he could have absolutely stayed on his feet, got past Manuel Neuer, and it's just only him and the goal. So a little bit disappointed in Bukayo in that sense, but I thought we had a good game overall. Of course, scored a fantastic goal as well. So hats off to Bukayo Saka.
And finally, 2-2 today. Next week, we go to the Allianz Arena, which is a bit of a fortress for Bayern in recent years. Can we go there and realistically get the job done?
Yes, I think we can. Like I said previously, we've definitely made it hard for ourselves. So it's unlikely.
What gives you that confidence?
Well, so the way we recovered in the second half for me, I thought was very impressive, and we're still on a run of very impressive form. It's not a loss today. Whilst it might feel like a loss because we went in, a lot of us went into the game thinking we should have won and could have won. It's still a draw. We're still unbeaten in the last God knows however many games. It's the first time we've conceded 2 goals since start of January. We're still in a brilliant position for me, and there's nothing that I've seen that scares me too much. Considering obviously I mentioned about the defensive work in that first half. In the second half, it was much better. So if we can go in to these next few games, especially against Aston Villa, we need a good response against Aston Villa. Go into the game against Bayern away from home, and it's unlikely, but it's not impossible.